Rewiring your financial mindset is more about stripping away what you know does not work. This is a process by which you and I look at how do I show up in the subject of money? What things am I doing that I know don't work? Or what are the pros, the moguls, the magnates? What practices do they engage in daily? Now grab a pen, because here's some things that I've learned over the years on a net worth, on a pathway to $100 million. And there's some common themes. And one I want to share with you this morning is the two most powerful words within our dictionary in the English language. And they are the words, I am. Now, when the chips are down, and there's been plenty of times over the years when I think back, I am is one of those difficult things to do in the moment, but really pushes you to a place of where you are in control. See, too many of us are subjected to challenge, but we seem to think that circumstance steers us, that we are at the whim of what happens to us and not our mental game. Now, when we say the words, I am, it puts you and I firmly back in control. Now, I remember one distinctive time where, and this is nearly 20 years ago now, I signed on for the purchase of a shopping centre, a small RTO, retail trade outlet. And it's one of those sort of centres where you've got a major anchor, a Coles or a Woolies, and 15, 18 specialties, right? Now, back then, that was $16.8 million. That was a lot of money nearly 20 years ago. And I had a deposit circa about 3 to 4 million. Now, what had happened is that I put together the deal, I'd negotiated it well, and it came time to put the finance together, and I was borrowing money through a mainstream banker. They rejected the finance application because of the circumstances around, like the environment, the sentiment. It wasn't that the numbers and the math didn't work. The deposit was sufficient, and the return coming back as a landlord would more than cover the debt position. However, they declined the loan. It happens to all of us. Now, I had to essentially find about $12 odd million in the space of 15 days. And I remember coming back to this office, my home office, right, and just literally on the verge of a meltdown. And I remember someone saying to me years ago, the two most powerful words in the English dictionary, I am. And I sat in this very chair for 27 hours straight. My wife at the time thought I was absolutely fucking crazy. But what was at stake was a deposit of $2.9 million. Now, had I not completed the transaction, the $2.9 million was vaporized. It went to the seller, the vendor. And I remember sitting here one afternoon, 4 o'clock in the day, just I am. I'm in control. I am in charge. I am creative. I am. I am capable. I am financial. I am wealthy. I am affluent. I am wise. I am sophisticated. I am. And I went on this rant. And you might say, Mark, that's just some kind of like pep talk, pump up bullshit. When your unconscious mind starts to grasp that you are in control of the circumstance, not the forces around you, that's a very powerful moment for every one of us. And I remember stomping around here thinking, I'm not going to terminate, I'm not going to incinerate 2.9 million. That's hard cash that I've earned. And I put a lot of effort, a lot of risk behind that. I wasn't going to see it go to the vendor without a fight. So in that process, I had learned some things. And I hope that you're starting to glean a similar position where you are in fact in control. And I encourage you, in fact, I challenge you to stand up to those circumstances and say, I am. And some of the words that I use are quite descriptive. You know, I don't sit down. I actually walk, because you and I think on our feet. But I'll always sort of remind myself, I am in control. I am wealthy. I am rich. I am opportunity. I am cash. I am a great father. And I go through all of this long list of things that I am. And what that does, it puts me firmly back in control. It starts to now develop some solutions. It develops a series of possibilities. And in that moment, I think that's where you and I need to come from, is a place of strength. There is no point you and I sort of being, morbid or negative. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve the situation at hand. So when I say to you, taking control, rewire your financial mindset, take control of your mind first. And I get passionate because some of us, are in a position where we are sort of sleeping through the process of money and finances. We're sleeping, we're asleep at the wheel. We're not in control. Interest rates are going up, our earnings are going back, the quality of life is going down, not up in Australia. We're at the whim and prayer of a government that has no idea how to steer our economy. And we feel powerless, we feel weak. It's time to put yourself in a position of strength and say, fuck it, this is how it's going to be. I've learned some things. I'm going to get resilient. I'm going to be tenacious. I'm going to be wise, intelligent, sophisticated about this. I'm going to take control of what I know works best. Because when you and I take firm control of that steering wheel, we can point it in any direction. And when it comes to money, I can assure you, when you have the attitude that everything is possible, I've just got to work out how. It puts so much, I think, reliance back on our mindset. I don't want you to show up weak. I don't want you to be sort of half-assed about this. And this is not the first time this has ever happened. Even now, nearly 20 years down the path, and assets spread all over the eastern seaboard of Australia, things sometimes get a bit hairy, or I just don't feel like I'm on my game. You've had this. You've woken up a little bit dull, a bit tired, flat, or, you're just getting hammered by certain things or family issues or personal issues. Your partner's giving you the shits. You're like, I'm in control of how I feel. And I'll literally start walking around the bedroom in the morning as I'm getting organised and prepared for work or dropping my daughter at school. I'll be in the car. I am in control. I'm in charge of my thinking. I am resilient. I am wise. I am clever. I am smart. I'm resilient. I'm tenacious. I am. And all of a sudden, this rant starts to build out an air of confidence. It takes you and I to a place where I'd rather be strong as a warrior than be meek and see the world as difficult and hard. So I encourage you, be deliberate about this. Cement how you feel and rewire that mindset with I am. And that puts you and I back in the control seat and not the circumstances around it. I don't give a shit about how the market works or whether banks are saying yes to lending or no. There's opportunity in an up, down, sideways market. But we just got to have the mindset that's relevant to that season and that opportunity. So I trust that makes sense. Take control of it and challenge yourself. Put it into play and then see the results for yourself. Rewiring your financial mindset, piece 2. You and I are our thinking. Now, if we have garbage in, we only get garbage out. It's a little bit like your physical diet. If it's just burgers and Coke and fries, you're not going to have much energy, you don't have much to attack life with. But same is true, and I think even more evident when it comes to our psychological material. What is really going in? So there's only really a couple of ways you can change that. And one is reading. Now, a lot of people say today, Mark, I don't have the physical time to do that. It's just too difficult. I've got children, I've got a business. I barely sleep, let alone read. Well, it may be the change or the difference between you being great and just average. I don't read a whole lot. I've got a family as well, but I allow about 3 to 4 times a week, about 20 to 30 minutes at a go. And what that does is it allows you and I to marinate in different thinking. It allows you and I to marinate in someone that's really smashing life in that particular field, in that arena. Because here's what happens. In the ruction, in the daily life of you and I and survival, we don't necessarily think about the forward play. We're not really planning ahead so much. But rather, if we can now catch on to the coattails of someone that's already done it before us and then learn, or cheat if you will, what they've done to do that, or what they've done to reach that point, it just short circuits everything in between. A good example, when I was learning how to fly helicopters, I could now go through and study for the next 3 years. Or I could saddle up with somebody that had 18,000 hours in the seat and learn from him in such a fast way. And I was able to get my license in literally 5.5 months. It's almost cheating, right? So let's just go lean on someone that's already done it before. that comes to us via reading. And I say to you, invest in yourself. Truly, my philosophy in life is that we are here for evolution. If you've turned up this particular way and you leave this earth 68, 45, 100 years later, the same version, I think you've done something horribly wrong. I think the purpose of you and I being here is evolution, is to grow, stretch, and be more. What better way is there to do that than just reading alone? Now, if I hear you say once more, but I don't have the time, I have no inclination to read, I wasn't great at school, yeah, me either, dropped out at grade 10. But I've made a direct link between what material goes in and stimulates and forces my mind to grow versus just being average and getting through life. And folks, this is a common theme among the rich. This is a common theme among the powerful. They realize I've got to now change my thinking. What best way to do that? Read. Worst case, do podcasts or audio books. Listen. It's almost the same thing, but your retention does suffer a lot. You know, you're only going to retain about 30% of what you actually hear in an audible way. So be conscious of that. That's not a whole lot. For the same time you're investing, read could be a better way of doing that. The third way that you can change your physical thinking and rewire your financial mindset is getting around people that are doing better than you. Folks, even now at 46 years, I want to be the dumbest person in the room. And I pride myself when I put myself in that situation. Recently, I went to a charity and a charity ball, and I saddled up with a table that was nothing more than just bankers, merchant bankers, lawyers, and I can promise you, I was the dumbest person at that sitting. Now, out of 8, 11 people, I didn't have the smarts that they had, but clearly I'm at the right place. I'm talking to a woman beside me in her late 50s, and she wouldn't reveal what she did, but what a fascinating woman. Turns out she's a lobbyist. But I'm learning all about, how to sort of position an argument with the government, how she raises funds to support these arguments, how she sort of funds, MPs, ministers of parliament, how she develops these sort of strategies. And I was just absolutely enthralled. But I'm at the right place when I'm the dumbest person in the room. Get uncomfortable, put yourself in those situations. More recently, I was invited to an afternoon, and there's a guy there talking about tech plays. Now, I'm not a technological person. I don't understand tech at all. But here is a young, talented man that clearly has the credentials of something great. He's talking about, doing software deals and apps and this and that and changing entire industries and how they process data. Now, he's already sold a company for 19 million. Cash, no script. Not a bad start. But the next play he was referring to was significant. And we're talking hundreds of millions, and it's already been picked up by a VC, a venture capital group, out of the US. That's got promise. But I'm sitting there aghast. I've got no idea what he's talking about. None. And he's talking about compilation of data and vertical integration of data and be able to sell this data to other different clients across the globe. And I mean, it makes sense in some way, but I didn't understand the intricacies. And I didn't understand the business plan nor the returns. That's a good place to be. Put yourself in those environs where someone or others are much smarter than you. Now, your mind might go right now, I don't know anybody like that. Well, start to develop your own sense of value. Start to create your own repertoire. What are you good at? Is it art? Is it money? Is it trading art? I don't know. But get good at something so that it's a fair trade when you sit across the table. You are not now drawing from the pond, but actually contributing to the pond. And this happens a lot. Over the years, I've dialed up people that are my competitors that are hitting this thing called money at a much greater level than me. Many years ago, I reached out to a direct competitor, and him and I do a similar thing across Australia in terms of property development, low end, affordable, and we're kind of in the same regions almost at the same time. And I dialed him up, and let's just call him JF for now. And I said, hey, listen, you know me, I know of you, but we've never met personally. Listen, would you be up for a bit of lunch? My share. The guy was really skeptical, really dubious. He's like, oh, I don't know. You could hear him sort of delay in his voice. He really wasn't that sort of keen. But in the end of the conversation, he said, yeah, sure. Now that lunch went for 2.5 hours, both busy people. This guy's worth circa 300-400 million. I'm sort of circa 100 and still growing. But this guy had so much to offer, so much to offer. Now, am I sitting there, just pounding him? Am I sort of just drawing from the well? Am I just, is it one-sided questions? Does he feel like I'm threatening him? Does he feel like I'm out for something? No. He starts to ask me about different sort of things, about, how I do deals, how I do life, how I do family. And there's this sort of sharing of information and sharing of principles. So I say to you, stretch, evolve. The fastest way for you to rewire your financial mindset is to start with you and get that good quality material, good fodder in, and build out your cachet of knowledge, folks. Start to listen to podcasts, read as much as you possibly can. And I would start out with stuff that you enjoy and then transition to stuff that challenges you. Pick up material, read the media, listen to what the masses are hearing, and then disseminate, is that true or is that false? And then base some of your investment decisions on the counterplay. If we think it's going to be a good market, it's probably going to be pretty shitty, or it's soon going to be. And then base your analysis or your investment choices around sort of the opposite of what the masses are hearing. You'll start to see the markers on the wall. So I say to you, evolve. And I've got a couple of notes here, and this is a good one for me that I remember hearing many years ago. The thinking that got you here won't be enough to finish it. The thinking that got you here will never be enough to get you where you want to go. So it's time to switch it out, really skill up. Get the new fodder, read the books, listen to the podcast, get around people that are clearly smarter than you. As I said before, oh Mark, I don't know any of those people. Bullshit. You're in contact, you have reached that far. And if you don't start to build out your level of skill, that you have something to offer when they say, yeah, sure, I'll catch up with you. And the last key is events. Over the years, I have spent now circa $260,000 on seminars, learning, conferences, finance conferences, trade conferences, $260,000 over the last 14 and a half years. I've traveled across the globe to hear speakers. I remember getting an invitation, 5.5, 6 years ago to an event in the States. And it was $82,000 US dollars, 3 days, but you get to hang out with 7 billionaires. Not one, folks, not two, 7. And they range from fund managers right through to men that had made it in textiles, women that had made it in technology. And I sat there completely enthralled for 3 days, listening to stuff that I really had not a lot of knowledge of, not a lot of passion for, but their capacity to hit those sort of financial markers was nothing more than inspiring for me. It shifted my thinking to say, if they can get out there and be a billionaire, and he's normal, she's normal, humble, grounded, clearly good at what they do, well then I can do something as well. And they're the sort of events, environments that you want to get around. Because let's face it, yes, I'm learning something from someone that's clearly qualified, but what about the network that's sitting in the seat paying the 80 odd grand just like me? Every lunch, every breakout, every afternoon tea session, I couldn't help but talk to people and say, hey, listen, how'd you find her? Yeah, fascinating. And these are the contacts now, the like-minded people, the ones that are spiraling up in life, finance, family, that are doing great things with their time. And today, some of those people I am still connected and friends with 5.5 years later across the other side of the world. So that gives you some idea of, I think, maybe the rap sheet that you should think or consider when you start to change and rewire your financial mindset. Bathe yourself in new material, new content, but ensure that it's relevant. I'm not talking about shit on TikTok. I'm not talking about necessarily stuff on Instagram that just soaks up your brain mass and fills your hard drive. I'm suggesting things that challenge you, that really sort of put you on the spot. I read material today in the daily press in Australia that I'm still grasping, that I still think, oh yeah, I understand parts of that, but not the full story. How do I better that? How do I build that out in my mind and get sort of more skilled, more refined in that area? So, and today, just so that you're clear, that I still average about 3 to 4 events per year. I'm going to an event in 11 days' time. It's a 3-day workshop, 3 intensive days for me to learn. Again, I want to make sure that I'm evolving, growing, and changing with the times. That I see opportunity and I'm able to seize it. And this event, I think, will fill a lot of gaps for me, a lot of gaps. So they're my notes for now. I trust that you are in that position where you realize I need to change it up, Mark. I need to challenge myself, and perhaps my husband too. We both need to learn, evolve in this subject of money. Because quite frankly, folks, it is not taught. It is not common knowledge. And it's upon you to make those decisions to change that. Upon the road to rewiring your financial mindset, I want you to consider for a moment what type of character, what traits, what attributes, what qualities will you need to instill to ensure that you arrive. Now, you've heard this saying before, success leaves clues. Look around you and start to admire or participate, acknowledge the kind of skills of those professional people that have arrived, successful people that have arrived. Because if money is your cause, if freedom is the pursuit, it's very important, it's critical that you and I start to observe those qualities in other people. I'll give you an example. Many years ago, I was putting together deals, property sites, obviously, and there was a company that obviously purchased quite a few of the sites that I created for them. They gave me a specific menu. I searched the country high and low, and I'd bring them back under control, flick those deals to this organization, and they would pay me handsomely. Now, I got to meet the owner of the organization. He is a billionaire, and several times over, not one. So this man has some kudos. He has some status. What's more, he is a true gentleman of commerce. He's 82 now, and this particular chap took a bit of a liking to me. Now, the reason I say this is being in the presence of somebody like that, you start to admonish the qualities that they possess. And this is what I'm suggesting that you do. Because you might not have a billionaire, you may, I don't know, but there are people around you already. Brother-in-law, mates, friends, colleagues, old buddies from school. There are people around you that you can definitely draw wisdom from and look at the character traits, the qualities, the skills, character of these people. What makes them unique? What makes them great in their specific arena, in their specific area? And this particular chap, I would always sort of think about the qualities that he possessed. 1, integral. This man had integrity that I have never seen before. He was shrewd. He would not be taken for a ride. He cut to the chase. His communication was direct. It was a little bit blunt. He was very sophisticated. He clearly knew his shit. He owns that much commercial property across Australia. He's literally lost track of it. He would have his lawyer sit with him nearly every meeting that I attended. And Alex would tell you, we've got this, we've got that. What can we do? How can we optimize that asset? So the CEO, the owner, had very little knowledge, but he was very sophisticated in the way he did things. And I'd also say that he was very warm. Strangely, he was shrewd. But if he saw some promise in you, if he saw some qualities, or he saw some drive in you, he would sort of invite you in so he could learn. There would be an equal exchange. And one particular time I'm sitting there at lunch, and he's got his PA, and Alex is obviously sitting across the table. The PA's one table down. And just watching him work and watching him think was really, to me, illuminating. You'd see this guy, his eyes would light up at 82, his eyes would light up, and he'd be so energized and so passionate still about the subject of property and what he did. And I find that quite unique. I find that so inspiring to be around somebody like that. So I want you to think about what makes the character traits of that person. Why is she so good at what she does? Why is he a leader in that field? Why is this guy so fucking rich? How did he do that? And start to draw from the wisdom of many. Start to think about what are those traits, as I mentioned about Bob. What is so unique about that person? And you want to think about the character traits that you will need to succeed. What qualities do you need? What qualities do you admire? Copy everything. Think about it. At school, you were taught, do not cheat. do your work, don't cheat. In the world of commerce and reality, the person that can cheat the best arrives faster. You know, when I sit there at these sort of discussions with this particular owner, this CEO, you know, I'd be looking at him and saying, well, how did you do that? How did you transition from industrial into this? How do you own all the DFOs in Australia? How did you do that? What was the business idea? What made you think that way? So I'm trying to glean as much as I possibly can. But again, it's not like I'm raping the guy of information. I'm not like stealing. I don't come across it that way. But I'm definitely going to copy everything. This is not school, and it's about you and I getting ahead. And I have to say to you at this point, I hope for you that you are someone that's prepared to be incredibly determined, disciplined, and tenacious. Because I can truly say, sitting here now with a net worth of in excess of 100 million, I can promise you that it's worth the work. Freedom is worth every drop of perspiration you'll put into this. So whether you decide to go it alone in business, whether you decide to exit and sell from your organization, I don't know. Do a share trade swap out at the other end, do a workout clause, whatever you've decided is your bag, is your gig, is your profession, is your craft, be the best at it and draw from others that are already great and doing better than you. Now, if you can put that together in a culmination, a formula, it's going to see you get to where you want to go. And I trust, like me, that's freedom. See, when I got into property was not really the tool that I chose. It wasn't the mechanism. I only chose it because of the money and the returns that I could get from it. You know, my financial situation was such that I was desperate. It wasn't going to matter to me if my boss paid me extra $4 an hour. I had to make radical financial change in order to pay down debt fast. I was almost bankrupt at 22. But that set forth a type of thinking. That set forth in motion a character, a way that I was going to be. And I was prepared to sacrifice and do anything to obtain freedom. I didn't give a fuck what area it was. It didn't matter to me. It could be stockbroker, it could be selling shares, it could be startups, it could be exits from business. Properties happened to be the one that I fell into because I could see the returns, and it wasn't $5 an hour, $4 an hour more. It was 30 grand. It was 60,000. It was 120,000 bucks cash if I put that deal together. And that was going to solve my problems fast. So I didn't just arrive in real estate. I didn't choose it. I fell into it. And I just decided I was never going to give in, ever. So I want you to fortify the kind of mindset that says, I will arrive at whatever the cost. I don't give a shit. I will do whatever it takes to arrive to get there. And for me, that was freedom. I did not want to be a part of the system where I sold 40 years of my life and missed out on all the beautiful, grateful things. The Rock of Stedfords, the school sports day, the swimming carnivals. I'm at all of them now, thankfully, but I really decided to invest in me and see it through. And wherever someone else along the path was better than me or was doing greater than me, like Bob, I would literally sit down and ask them questions that were appropriate. Could you help me? What do you think about this? I've got an idea. What if I did this and transacted? What if I did this type of deal instead of this? I was always seeking out the counsel of people that were doing better than me. Be that person. Be fucking tenacious. And become an achiever of life. Be relentless. It doesn't mean leave your family. That means, hey, kids, we're doing this. We're a family. We're a unit. We're going to be all pushing. And you're going to see mum, dad struggle. You're going to see late nights. Include them. Don't do it at the cost or detriment of the things that matter most. But I would say to you, solidify in them the belief, chase down those dreams that mum and dad are on a mission and we're going to do this. Now that just does nothing but lift your children, lift your family. It causes you to be the lighthouse among many. And that's a beautiful place because your children need that. They need to see the struggle of mum and dad. You don't want them. You don't want them to feel like it comes easy. It shouldn't be that for them. And get clear. Hold your dreams close but true. One of the things that I've certainly excelled in, if you will, without pumping tires, one of the things I become really great at is seeing things before they're done. Goals, dreams, aspirations, whether it be travel with my family, paying off my mum's house, buying my mum a car, buying my mum a bloody trip to the Arctic. I see those things before, and I'm really a big believer in pursuing and follow your dreams. Hold them close, hold them true. Sit down, visualize them. You've probably seen me talk about this before, but it really is one of my key skill sets is seeing those dreams and seeing them come through to fruition. I want that for you. So I trust this is actually starting to hit a chord with you, but really start to lean on those around you and ask them questions. Start to reveal what those character traits are. What do you admire about him, her, him? What are those character traits? And start to employ them yourself. Cheat. Don't follow the system. Cheat. Get better, get faster, get more nimble, get richer, get free. Speak soon.